another episode of Rise, Shine, and Grow. And here with us today is Ellie Weber. Now, Ellie Weber, according to his bio, is the CEO of Weber Media, and that's it. I know that's not true, and after a little bit, you'll know that's not true also. There's so much more to be said about Ellie Weber. But first, I just want to really thank you so much for being on here, Ellie. Thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule.
My pleasure. It's really,
Okay.
truly a pleasure. Thank you.
Amazing. So, okay. So I first met Ellie a couple months back. We were actually at Kosher Palooza and I saw a gigantic buzz going on around Ellie. Like their whole place was like swarming around him. And I walked over and all of a sudden there was like a mic in my face. And I was like, I'm supposed to know who you are, but you seem famous, but I don't know who you are. Anyway, that little clip of I know I'm supposed to know you, but I don't know who you are got I think 50,000 views or so on Instagram, and I don't know where else it's going on. But I think that the magic of Ellie is something that I really want to introduce my audience to because it's so much more than just CEO of Weber Media. There's something really incredible about the humility and the realness that you approach everything. So I'm gonna sort of try to allow the audience to get to know who's Ellie, and not just as the CEO of Weber Media, but as a source of real inspiration. So first things first, can you tell us a little bit about the new podcast that you're about to launch, or maybe launched?
Yes, thank you. So the podcast is called the Weber Podcast, just because it runs intertwined with my other brands. So the main focus right now for me is Weber Media, which is a social media management company. We do LinkedIn management for people and Instagram management for different brands like Klein's Ice Cream, Klein's Naturals, Dagem, different big brands that want to have a presence on social media. It helps them in terms of branding and online presence. And of course, it helps them also increase their sales money, and especially with LinkedIn, where you have all the designers there and you have people literally sitting there to make business. It helps a lot of businesses. But under that, I also have Weber mugs that we're working now to create a full line of motivational mugs that can relate to our community and worldwide. And so we also have Weber Podcast, which is just another way to be able to motivate and aspire people. So I'm very excited for that.
So that's what I'm seeing, which is that you take something that sounds like it's a technical skill or social media management, and you really move it into a place of inspiration and motivation for people. And I would like to know, is that your brand? Is that something you do naturally? How did you come to a point where you're mixing and matching social media management with inspiration, connection with Hashem, all of that? That's really what I'm curious about.
Yes. So the what I came to notice is that I have a natural gift, and that natural gift is I'm generally speaking, I'm in a good mood. I have a certain happiness to myself and a positive energy that just really feels natural to me. It's really in my nature. That being said, it also has the opposite side effect. That has that effect of when things come crashing down, and I'm going to start off by saying this. I want people to know this. Like, I have many days, many times for longer periods of times that I'm not really feeling it. And we'll talk about what I learned and how I deal with that as well. But I have, as much as you can see me in a good mood, that same amount is the time that I spend not in a good mood, doubting myself, feeling sometimes anxious or just not in the mood, not wanting or not believing in myself. And the reason for that is because we live in a world, there is the law of opposites. So the way Hashem created his world was from the get-go. There was light, there was dark, there was day, there was night. And the reason for that is because the only way for us to enjoy the night is if there's a day. The only way for us to enjoy the day if there is a night. The only way for you to enjoy a good mood is if there is a bad mood. And then again, you can balance it. You can enjoy night and day. You can enjoy good mood, bad mood. You can enjoy winter, summer, right?
Yeah.
But he created that You know, like a lot of people are very affected by love, okay? So it can be with parents, a spouse, or with Hashem, their connection. But what they don't understand is that the same way love is the most powerful thing, the opposite of that is the hurt that comes out
Yes,
of love.
the pain, right?
So, right. So most people are not really accepting the of the negatives that happen in
Yeah,
life.
yeah,
So their expectation is to only have the positives, which backfires like crazy, including for myself. Like I
yeah,
also always expect and I want to be always happy, positive, and feel good and optimistic, filled with a minna and connection to Hashem. I'm
right.
always expecting that, but then when the opposite happens and I feel disconnected or I feel doubtful, then I start asking myself, oh my God, what's happening here? And the
Right.
answer that's happening is this, that I expected a one-sided
Right.
situation.
You just want you expecting to always be up. And I think you're saying something so powerful. If I may, just for the listeners who are not familiar with you, not only do you take the gift of simcha that you have maybe to an extreme, you also keep it real, even publicly in social media, and even right now, you're not trying to show up as always perfectly happy,
Correct.
which social media in general frowns upon anything other than perfection and beauty, right? But I think that you're in the unique position where you feel the extremes more extreme than most, and you take the joy and you pass it along, and you also acknowledge the pain and try to help people when they're in pain also. And I think that's pretty incredible. Like, does that kind
Thank
of explain what your brand is, and what, not just your brand but your real self is?
Yeah. So we'll get to the brand because the brand is just a reflection of myself.
Yeah, yeah.
So to on what you mentioned, you know, I do feel that way, and I made a post a few weeks ago saying that the most difficult week in my life was also the week that brought the most blessings. So, and I always tell this to people if they want to see how real it is. You know, when you come to the weekend, it's the weekend, Shabbos, and you've had a really difficult week, challenges, whatever it is. There's a certain good feeling to it. Think about it. There's a certain like, wow, I made it here.
I made it.
Yeah, rather than a week where everything just went well, and then you're entering the weekend, and you're like, okay, it was a great week. So at the end of the day, we're also appreciating the challenges and
Yeah,
these moments. So I used to think of myself that there's two Ellie Webbers, the real Ellie Webber, and then there's the Ellie Webber on social media, which a little bit gave me confliction because it wasn't true. There is one Ellie Webber, there's the authentic real me, and there is that same Ellie Webber is sharing things because he loves to share and aspire, motivate, and entertain others, as well as grow as a human being.
so question for you. Sorry for interrupting, but I'm curious how you are able to be like you had to move to a place of accepting all of it as part of the whole package of Ellie, and you came to a real, it seems like you came to a real place of acceptance. Even when we move to a place of acceptance, though, most people would not have the ability to be as authentic and show up in their happiest self and in their most miserable self. Do you find it harder to show up in your less strong state? And how do you get past, how do you allow yourself to be so vulnerable?
That's a very good question. How do I allow myself to be this vulnerable? It's a combination of a few things. I do love to help others. And when I get challenged with something, the only thing I want to do with that challenge is to learn, grow, and help others with it. So every challenge that I've had in my life is then used into helping others with that same challenge. When I write a quote on my status, LinkedIn, Instagram, wherever it is, and people can resonate with it, because
Yeah,
I get this daily. People tell
yeah,
me, wow, what you just said, I really needed to hear this. And I
yeah,
tell people, thank you very much, because I did not want to make a video about this. I definitely didn't
right.
want to post it. You know, I
So
only
it's
did
that
it.
positive feedback loop where you felt like, I don't want to post this, but if I
Correct.
could add some meaning to it
Right.
by posting it and help someone, and then people pop up and say it helped, and it gives you the chizuk to keep doing it. So
Correct.
question, in the moment of the darkness and the challenges and all of that, are you already thinking then that maybe this could help someone, or you're just in it and it's afterward, after you move out of it, that you want to help?
So I'll answer that. Number one, if the moment of darkness is too overwhelming, then I just don't make a video.
Right.
Okay? Because
Right.
I sit with myself and I had it this morning. I went swimming because it's very healthy to exercise first thing in the morning. And in the middle of the swimming, I had like negative thoughts. And I'm like, okay, let me just swim this away, right? Let me just
Right.
fight with the waves and let it out. And then I said, hold on, this is not working. Okay, let me just pull to the side of the pool, took off my goggles. I'm like, what exactly is happening here? Oh, life is happening, right? It's a regular. And after 10 seconds, after fighting for 10 minutes, the fear went away. Whatever it was just our
Right.
mind
Right.
trying to
It just,
protect us.
right. It's just a feeling. And I think
And I
that,
went on. So
yeah.
to answer your question, if I feel not up to it or I feel like I need some time and space, I'll take that. And that's super important. Most people, because of their circumstance in life, and many times it's because they're a father, a mother, a brother, a sister, they're really busy and they don't have time for themselves. But if you don't have time for yourself, what's life? How's it worth living? But in that moment, usually what I think is that yes, that my thoughts or my mood does not have to stop me. And that's a big one for a lot of people. The
Yeah.
way you feel, the way you think is something that will pass.
Yeah.
Okay, and it doesn't have to stop you. The only one stopping you is yourself because of a limiting belief. So
Right.
I
Right.
like to think of that. I like to disconnect many times from my thoughts and emotions. Of course, take it in and notice that it's my thoughts and emotions. But in
Right.
that moment, it doesn't have to stop me because it's not
Well,
really.
I think that what you're saying, and you're saying it so beautifully, is that you're not resisting it, you're accepting it. And
Yes,
by accepting it, you could then choose to tuck it
yes.
away for later
And I had a very,
or
yeah.
experience it. And right, but you're not resisting any of it. And I think that
And
that's
I
the
had a
key.
very hard time doing that, by the way. I'm just
Yeah.
gonna say because I'm by nature, if anyone is into zodiacs, I'm a Scorpio. I like to be in control.
Oh,
go.
oh,
I like to go.
intense,
Yeah,
intense.
yeah.
Yeah.
I like to go with the flow. And for me to accept and all that is really always on the back burners. Like what I mean, accept. Like I'm powerful. I'm the beast. So for me to take a step back and say, oh my God, I'm feeling weak right now. That is to me a very big no. But in
That's
a way,
huge. And
yeah,
if I know anything about Scorpios, that's the life's avoda, which is that right, it's not that the other person made me hurt or that I lost right the control. And also for a lot of times when people need control, and again, it's not just Scorpios, it's also just human nature. It's just
yeah,
maybe amplified, right? It's when I need control, then I'm not willing to look inside. I need to point outside, and this one hurt me, and this one did that to me, and that one did that to me, because it gives me back my sense of normal. Whereas if I could just accept that I'm having an intense feeling of hurt, right? Not because you're the blame, but because I'm hurting extra, right? I'm perceiving this as a lot of
yeah,
hurt, and and because I have a wide range of intense emotions, right? Giving yourself that grace, but also it really does give you your power back, right? Because that's I think the paradox is that by accepting, right, by accepting the strong emotions and not resisting them and not feeling like I need to control everything or point fingers, I then have more strength, not less, right?
yeah, yeah.
I think that's incredible.
I'm just gonna
When did
finish
you,
off before
yeah,
keep that question.
I have
When
so
did
many
you
questions. Yeah.
I just want to say that I just want to finish off with what you started, that I try to bring this energy into my business, understanding that I am the person people are buying from.
Yeah.
Better I am, the more clear I am, the more calm I am, the more I believe in my product, service, or what I'm selling in, that's where I can have success. If I create mugs and I really believe in those mugs, people will buy it. If I create a podcast and I really believe in it, people will buy it. So the same thing is with Weber Media. I really
Yeah.
believe in the service. I really want to help people. I pray for my clients every single
Yeah.
day.
So
I
do
want
I.
them to do well.
So do
So
I.
that's why they're doing well. That's why we've built a family of many, many happy clients and employees for that matter. And I
Yeah.
pray for my employees.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, you're saying the things
so
that the experts in sales always say. I don't know if you've taken sales courses and stuff, but any resistance that you feel
yeah,
you're getting from your
I have.
clients
Yeah,
is your own resistance or your own insecurity and your own self-doubt.
yeah.
Right. And that's that's spot on. So I don't want to take a ton, a ton more of your time, but a couple of your posts, and you touched on one of them, so I'm gonna enter into it. And if you push back, you push back. You said a couple weeks ago that you had the most challenging week ever. That's a pretty
Yeah.
bold statement. Do you care to share details, or rather just not?
Um, yeah, I'll share. I didn't think I'll share this, but I'll share because I believe it's something that all of us experience in our day-to-day life, some more than others. Um, I've worked. The reason it was very difficult for me is because I've worked very, very hard the past year in my business. So I've worked from 9 a.m. till usually going out to meetings, shows. I have had a packed day, meeting clients, employees, just so many different things, or even going to a show and spending 6 hours over there meeting thousands of people.
Right.
Then coming home, because I don't have social media on my phone. That's my policy. I don't have
Right.
any social media
Smart.
apps. I have it
Smart.
all on a tablet,
Right.
just to be disconnected from it. I mean, again, I love social media and the audience over there, but it's just not.
Balance. Balance. Right.
And I would come home after a long, long day, and instead of taking time for myself, I would have to post everything on social media, and I'm getting help with that as well right now, just because I have to take care of myself.
Right.
But that, to me, was just working hard, and now we're approaching Rosh Hashanah. It's a new year, and closing the chapter, closing the book on this year, I just say I'm grateful. And we
Yeah.
started 2 new clients this week. We started a new client last week for Weber Media. Like, and one of them told me, like, wow, it was written for you to have this client.
Like right before you got it in, like
Yeah,
right before.
yeah, like you
Yeah.
got
Yeah.
it.
So incredible. Yeah.
And so all of that brought burnout. Now and it was just extremely, it hit me. It was during the summer, and well, everything starts to quiet down, right?
Right.
People are not
Right.
so much working, and it's already almost the new year, and all of these things hit me. Then I had a
Like the
few.
adrenaline comes crashing. And I see that all the time, where when people are in go mode, that's
Yes,
not when they break down. It's when
correct.
there's like that dip. And I
Right.
think, I'm guessing when you wrote that, I'm guessing you got hundreds of responses from people experiencing the exact same thing. Because when things dip right at the end of the summer, people don't want to spend money and things get
Yeah.
quiet and people are right.
Yeah.
Everybody dips at once, right? Because
And it's really the expectation, if you think
Yeah.
about it. Everybody has an
Yeah.
expectation of a certain way. They know winter is winter. They know summer
Right.
is an expectation of how everything is going to bloom and be beautiful for them. And then when they
Right.
don't get it, they get disappointed. So it's a
Sure.
normal cycle. But for me, it was also current, specific events like losing my friend Michul Schnitzler, which in the
Oh, right.
beginning I said like, oh, it's not going to bother me. But that amount of grief, and grief is a blessing, because grief shows us one thing. It shows that you really love.
That you loved him deeply. Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
and I never understood. While he was here, they say toilet paper is most appreciated when it's gone. I'm not
Right.
comparing him to toilet paper, but having him as a friend, and he was
Right.
always in our house, and I was always in his house, and I always called him. We spoke every day. It was like, okay, it's another friend, but he
Yeah.
was 62. I thought for sure he'll pull it till 82. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
When he
Yeah.
wasn't here, I wanted him to live till 120, but I'm saying in my mind,
Right.
the
Right.
day he was gone, it was still okay, because okay, I've had a day that I missed speaking to him, or a
Right.
week, maybe
Right.
some,
But
but after
suddenly
a
it
few
started
months,
to realize it. Right.
right? And so it really hit me, and then there was other things in life. It could be my dating life, something that
Yeah.
it's not
Yeah.
easy, ups and downs. And I've been very successful in dating, but maybe that's why it hurt me so much, because
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
successful, but it didn't. The
And
journey
then it
didn't.
was a combination. It sounds like it was a combination of all these
Combination,
things.
right?
Right.
Correct.
Right.
And now I'm going to say one more thing, that with the combination of many things, also came what is called a very interesting cycle that people have, and I'll explain the cycle. The cycle is that in general in life, people they let go, and they just allow life to happen and unfold. Especially for people that read a little bit, they understand that holding on to things, it doesn't work.
Yeah.
After that, when we let go, what happens is we experience joy. We're happy. Everything
Yeah.
is good. No matter what happens in your life, you're happy. The issue with that is that after a while, the ego comes back and tells you, wow, Ellie, look at this. through physical and mental effort, you were able to put yourself in such a good position, you are amazing. And that's when the ego comes back, taking away that letting go-ness, because now you
Yeah.
are back in control.
Yeah.
And then we experience feeling down. We're like, oh my
Yeah.
God, it's too much for me to handle, even though everything is perfect, but I'm controlling everything. So sometimes we go into a little bit of a depression and we feel a little bit off. And then we
Yeah.
start the cycle. We start the exact cycle again. We again let go because we notice we're not in control. Hashem is in control. And then we again experience joy
Yeah.
and happy and everything is amazing.
I would just add, and you can tell me if you've experienced this, but I have also, which is that as you go through cycles, right? The one thing that's different, otherwise it would just be a repeat and that would be depressing. The one thing that's different is that you recognize that it's a cycle, right? So right, you recognize it's a cycle, and for me at least, it's a different playing field. It's a different playing field. So the things that I let go of, I may have let go of, but now I have to let go of letting go, right? So there's right. So this it's not cycling in a circle; it's spiraling upwards. So and Gedalia Fenster talks about, right, like in the clubs they say raise the roof. He says raise the basement, right? Meaning your low is not as low, right? Everything's cycling higher, and I'm sure I'm sure you've seen that, and also just the awareness that this is a cycle, right? Is helpful in and of itself.
Right. So the quick answer, I totally agree with what you said. It basically, the cycle takes quicker, and it can take basically only a month or only a week or sometimes only a day or sometimes even a few minutes.
Right.
It can take a few minutes for you to rebound, to understand that you get your ego is back into play. So that's why you're feeling down. So now just let go and you'll experience joy.
We have this terminology in my coaching practice because people cycle through their poor eating habits and all that, right? And I tell them that you're always going to, first of all, I don't believe in dieting, and I want to ask you about that in a minute because you posted about it. That was my next question. But I help people find balance, and I help people move away from perfectionism, which is what dieting really asks, right? The other thing we talk about is becoming, I call it a BBB. A BBB is a better bouncer backer. And that's exactly what you just described. Like, I'm a better bouncer backer, which means that I'm more resilient and I get back on my feet quicker because I'm aware of it. I notice the cycle and I know how to, right? And I know how to move to the state that I want to be in, whether it's a state of letting go or whether it's a state of taking good care of myself, or whether it's a state of forgiving myself so that I could take care of myself, right? So we do that in the coaching practice also. So talk a little bit about what you posted yesterday about how diets just made you fatter. I'm not using that word. You said it, so talk about that. And I don't disagree, by the way. And my audience needs to hear this.
Okay. I'm just going to say one more thing about before that this exact cycle that I spoke about.
The BBB cycle. The bouncing back, the better bouncer backer.
Okay, it's called bouncing back. I am literally taking it out word by word from a book called The Power of Letting Go.
Yeah. I have that. It's the yellow and white book.
Yeah, it's a white book. Yes, it's by John Perkis.
Yeah, it's a great book.
And it's a great book. It's the only book that I can say I read again and again and again. This helped me in the beginning of my journey, and this is real, by the way, for those who want to understand. It's real. It's really what we call a minna. It's really what we call surrendering. It's really what we call jumping into the sea without knowing that it's going to split, or better, believe
get up to there.
So this is where I'm taking it from, and that book has just been tremendous in my life. And every time I read it, I'm just like, oh wow, so this is why this is happening in my life, and that gives me the guidance. It just makes me feel better. No matter whichever page I open in the book, it makes me feel better. Again, it's The Power of Letting Go. People can buy it, can still have it for Yontav maybe whenever this is released. Yeah. To answer about health and diets. So I've been I personally know for a fact that I have skinny genes, meaning that because we all do. I think that this answer of, and I'm not going to say some people actually struggle, sometimes for women it's a little bit more difficult. Weight can be a struggle. There's lots of different things in life that happen. But for majority of us, and the reason why 70 or 80% of Americans are overweight has nothing to do with your natural, human being. So for me personally, the experience has been struggle throughout my childhood, and I also understand why. And people, when I talk about my childhood, the first few times, my parents were like, "What do you mean you had the best childhood?" And I tell them, "Yes, you were the best parents, but what was going through Ellie's mind when he was a child is my issue, my fault, my growth." Okay.
Yeah, can I just add that in for our listeners, which is that a lot of times people will have some confusion about their childhood because on the surface it looked really good, but the way they experienced it, right? And just acknowledging that your parents could have meant beautifully and your experience could have been extremely damaging. And it doesn't mean that your parents are at fault or that they did wrong. And it doesn't mean that you're crazy for experiencing it that way. Both
Yeah.
could be true. Your parents could do the absolute best and have given you, right? And even if it, like, so some people did their best but it really just wasn't functional. Some people really did well and it's maybe the other siblings
Yeah.
thrived in that environment, but for you it didn't, right? You weren't able to feel heard or understood or express yourself, or a whole host of things. And I think that that dichotomy is important to be able to live with. Go ahead. Yeah.
Yes, that's beautiful. No, very
Yeah.
nice said. Thank you. I am gonna say, since I brought up my parents, I'm gonna say that I have, Baruch Hashem, the best father, the best mother. They're so supportive of everything that I do. They never ever tell me otherwise, unless they really feel that it's
Right.
place for them to say something. I'll say the first time as a child, as a kid growing up, that I had anxiety was, I remember that I used to enjoy to, like every kid, I would take a staple in my mouth and play, I would put a staple into my mouth just to have something in my mouth. And I remember one time I swallowed it, or I thought I swallowed it, and then I was convinced that it stuck in my throat. And of course, I'm thinking now back as a child, it's funny, even
Right.
not knowing what anxiety is, I
Right.
was really afraid. I was
Right.
anxious. I couldn't think straight. I was all over the place. Like, what's happening? What happens if I can't take it out? What happens
And
if
you
I
didn't know that you could share this with somebody.
So I didn't know that I can share it with myself, I would say.
Right.
I
Right.
definitely went to my father and I told him that this is it. I'm dying, and
Right.
because I swallowed a staple, so now it's going to go into my stomach, make a hole over there, whatever it's going to do. This is
Right.
real anxiety as a kid. I remember what my father did. He took a staple
You
and
swallowed it.
yes, he put it
That's
in his mouth
amazing. That's
and he swallowed it.
amazing. Right.
So my father is a hero in many different ways, because that story really taught me how, he validated my anxiety and he made it go away. Now, today's days, I don't need him to do it. I need
Right.
myself to do it. When something's
Right.
bothering me, I have to understand, okay, this is just a thought
Yeah.
and it will pass. And
It's
anxiety is
so
a perfect
powerful.
part of life.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've had now with a shidduch, somebody asked, oh, he's struggling with anxiety. And I said, I'm not struggling with anxiety. I defeated anxiety and I'm willing to talk about it to help others.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah. I would.
what's better than that?
So somebody once told me that, like, they had a should have call with another person who, the shadchan was reassuring that the other side has a mental health issue, but it's okay because he's on a very low dose of medication. And she says, I would much prefer him be on the proper dose of medication, right?
Yeah,
Meaning,
yeah, yeah,
so
yeah.
the point is, right, it's not that we don't want anxiety, we want to manage the anxiety. Everyone's got anxiety, right? However much anxiety we have, that's how much management we need. That's all.
If somebody doesn't have anxiety, they're probably not alive because there's no way for their
Correct.
body
So
to get
there's
more.
levels, and then to the extent that we have it is the extent that we have to have the management tools, which is
Yes.
exactly what you're describing. Yeah.
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 Anxiety is just here to lead us in the right direction and tell us what to do. And depression is basically your body saying that I'm not comfortable with whatever you built around me, whatever you coded. You're a neshama, you're a holy soul, and whatever you are doing with your body on a daily basis is just not matching the soul.
Yeah.
That's what
It's out
depression
of out of
is.
alignment. Out of alignment.
Yes,
You're saying things that make you sound like you're extremely well read and listen to a lot of things. And I want to be able to jump into that more, but just finish up with the dieting piece because I think it's
yes.
important. What you're going to say is important for my audience, specifically
Okay.
my listeners. Yeah.
Yes. Okay. So basically what my journey was that I was eating I was eating a lot just to calm my feelings, just to
Right.
validate whatever was hurting me or whatever I was lacking, or just having a good time. And I went to nutritionist, and the nutritionist, I remember, told me, okay, so you're going to eat this much rice, showed me with her hand, you can eat this much rice because that's how much your body needs. And you can have one bread and one cookie. And for breakfast, you can have a yogurt and whatever. And I remember going there, and the first week I lost 2 pounds,
Right.
and I was very proud. And then the next week, for some reason, I gained a pound, and I came home and I was just literally, I was crying. And
Yeah.
then she met me the next day, and she's like, "Oh, it's okay. It's a down to bring her up. It was like, and and now I understand why I was so upset, because it wasn't real. Telling the portion control is not real. That it's not.
Yeah.
It doesn't exist. So then when I turned 16, I went on my own diet. It was a protein, no sugar, no starch diet, and drank a lot of water, did a lot of exercise, and I lost all the weight that I needed to lose. And
Yeah.
then I put myself onto what we call a lifestyle diet, which means that I understood that that me personally, when I overeat or when I go into a mode of eating stuff because of habit, or eating at night, or eating to comfort myself, I understood that it leads to me gaining weight and me
Right.
being less healthy.
Right.
So that's when I said, let me do, the food is delicious, but Ellie Weber is more delicious. So if
I
I want
love that. I
myself
love
over,
that. Right.
right. So I didn't choose food over myself. I chose myself over the food.
I
So
love that.
the
That's such a
focus
great
is
way.
on
I like to say the side effect of getting to the root, right, is weight loss. Meaning
right.
when I coach my clients, the side effect is weight loss, right? We do the work, we do the emotional regulation, we do all the, all of that, whether it's surface or a little deeper or a little deeper, it doesn't really matter, because whatever it is, in the end, when I'm emotionally healthy and well, and I can think clearly and stay grounded and be balanced and be resilient and all that, like the food sorts itself out. And so what a lot of nutritionists will do is they try to do it from the outside in, which is like a cognitive CBT based model of control the behavior, control the food,
Okay.
right? But it doesn't leave you with any skill set right? Especially when you don't. What happens when you don't do it, right? So the real skill set needed is the inner work. And I love how you just said that, which is that you didn't choose the food over you chose you over the food, right? It's the real work is that, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
So that's when I came to notice. So first of all, my quote when it comes to this is, the bigger the diet, the bigger you will get. And you know what the beauty about this is? It works every time. It works every time.
Yeah.
Scientifically proven that 98% of diets fail.
Listen to him. Listen to him. Listen
98%
to
of
him.
diets fail. And it's scary to think, because so many of us are on diets, but that's the fact. 98% of diets
The
fail.
interesting thing is that people will always, not will always, but tend to always want to go back to the extreme diet because it worked. And then the question is, if it worked, why are you still doing it, right? Meaning, if it really worked, you wouldn't be back in this position, right? And so what they mean by worked is that it worked in a short time and it masked as worked. Like the same way if you slap a kid across the face and now he's quiet, it worked, right? You'll find out if it worked or not, like in 7 years from then, right?
Yeah, I
But
see a diet as worry. I always say worry is a thing, and that's all it is. It's worry. It's not in you. It's not without you. The diet is a thing, and it's a thing. It's a place where you go, and you would just come back from it. It's not
yeah,
actually changing anything. It's not
correct,
really
correct.
something you should put on. It's not something you should commit to.
It's
It's
something that you go
just
onto, which means you're going off of, and it means if it's by nature temporary because it's not
exactly,
sustainable. Yeah,
exactly.
it's by nature. And then people feel like failures, but it wasn't they're not the failures. The diet itself, the thing, it failed, right? The thing
Yep.
will fail. It's like going on a support beam that's going to collapse and then feeling like you failed, right? It's
Yeah,
it's
and also, and on
it's
a
made to collapse.
right, on a
Yeah,
psychological level, when they're doing a diet, they're basically saying, I'm not good enough to live a regular, healthy life. So they are giving their own mind the biggest message possible that I am a victim to food, and unless I am on a diet, I can't lose weight, which is a
The
terrible place
challenge
to put
becomes
yourself.
when the weight becomes so big that they don't disagree with that, but they just the journey towards self-regulation and self,
Yeah.
and the inner work just feels very overwhelming. And the real way that you're describing and that I try to coach on is a slow process, not because of the pounds being slow, but because healing takes time and emotional regulation takes time, and right, and just being strategic takes time. And so even if your body can change fast, but inside it doesn't, it takes time. And so people don't even necessarily disagree, they just feel stuck or desperate. So it's good that you're saying it, and that hopefully people will hear it.
And for all of
Yeah.
those, one last thing, for all of those that are on a diet or did a surgery for a diet or did any kind of procedure thing, congratulations. You took a step. You took a very healthy step. Stay on your diet, keep your lifestyle, whatever it is, but understand that a diet is temporary and nothing temporary really works.
A
So,
lifestyle.
and if you take it to boost yourself, you want to start off strong with a diet, that's also okay, but understand that it's going to be a commitment, it's going to be a lifestyle. Understand that you shouldn't be victimizing yourself. You can go on a diet, that's perfectly fine, but don't victimize yourself that you needed this
That's
diet.
the difference. There's a fine line. I'll just say to the audience, I think most of my listeners know this, but even if this goes out to your listeners, is that there's a fine line between right, not a fine line. There's a big difference between a very, very strict diet, which, like you said, the bigger the diet, the bigger the gain, and putting a strategy in place so that good for you. For those who are listening, he just showed 2 bowls of fruit. Right. So there's the extreme diet, right? And then there's the more comfortable diet, which will be slower and less extreme, and there's not so much failure. Both of those are still diets. And then there's just strategy, which is, even if I'm not on a diet, I can still eat in with a strategy and a baseline. What I try to encourage is the most strategic way to enjoy all foods without deprivation, without cutting carbs, without anything, and learning how to enjoy everything and tackle both at the same time. So we're making progress, we're making progress in a bit of a more steady way so that people don't get frustrated and give up. So Ellie, leave us with some words of wisdom. What messaging do you want to give both of our shared audiences, especially, I don't know if this is going to be released before Rosh Hashanah or after, but either way, what messaging for the new year?
My message for the new year is to be conscious and aware of who I am, what I need. And I actually have a note that says exactly what Ellie needs. And I want everybody to do that for themselves. Write yourself a note of what you need, what you want.
Beautiful.
And give those things to yourself. Okay. And you can also, some people would also do a list. They can do a list of the things that bring you joy and the things that upset you, the things that drag you down. And I want you to check how many of those things that are dragging you down are you doing, and how many of the things that are bringing you joy are you doing. If you find yourself having 10 things on each list, and you find yourself doing 8 things that don't bring you joy and only 2 things that bring you joy, then I would highly suggest that you turn that around and you start doing the things that you enjoy. Okay. And it is a process. We don't change overnight. It is a process of moving towards yourself, towards what you really want, towards what you really believe in. Self-love is a key element. Sticking up to yourself. There is hundreds of mistakes that people do every day, which takes away their own self-love. For example, doing favors when we're not really up to it, or going to a place, or doing
saying yes when we mean no, not setting boundaries, all that.
Right. Exactly. All these things are sending messages that you're not good enough and that you're not enjoying life, while you can be doing the opposite, which is saying no when needed, saying yes when you really want, going where you really want, doing what you really want, not what you think is right, not what everybody is doing. Everybody is going, so I also have to go, no.
Right.
And so by taking care of ourselves and really doing the things that we want and enjoy, that's how we grow as a human being. Everything that we want to grow, if it's spiritually, Hashem wants us to love him.
Yeah.
Okay? That this goes on Hashem. This means we should love Hashem.
Yeah.
But it's only kamoichu. As much as you love yourself, that's as much
so powerful.
you give. So this is super powerful when it comes to your
I
health.
think Gedalia Fenster said that one of the reasons I think Rav Kook brings it down why we start the Aseret Zebros with Anochi is because if we don't have the Anochi, right, then there is no more Aseret Zebros, right? And I've heard from multiple places that the tshuva process itself, and again, this might be released after, but it's going to be close enough to Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to hear this, which is, right, the tshuva process itself. Tshuva could mean return to the right way, but really on a deeper level, it means return to yourself. And that means knowing, right? Meaning return to your true self because it gets lost, right? We don't set boundaries, we get swayed, we get pulled, we get, right? And what you said is has so much spirituality. Just what I like, what I need, my joy list, right? Like that itself is a tremendous avoda for the new year. So powerful. Yeah. Thank you, Ellie, so much for sharing your time with us and for being here today. And hopefully your messaging will continue to resonate with everybody everywhere.